be selected for this program. Oh, thank you, Evelina. Thank you for recording the meeting. I see the warning there. I do want folks to know we are going to be recording this meeting because it will be posted online. So if for any reason you didn't want your face or voice heard or shared online, you can wait to maybe ask your question. We have a Q&A session at the end, and we'll stop recording at that time. But otherwise, feel free to drop questions in the chat along the way, or if you have a really pressing question, you can ask it as we go. But otherwise, we will just do all Q&A at the end. So anyways, back to quick intros. My name is Dana. I work at UC Davis, and I would be one of your primary coordinators or point people while we do this program. And Tim, I'd like to hand it over to you real quick for your intro.
Thanks very much, Dana. Yes, my name is Tim Hobley. I'm an associate professor at DTU, the Technical University of Denmark, and I'm kind of the person similar to Dana, but from the Danish side that's helping to coordinate this program. Thanks, Dana.
Great. Thanks, Tim. And I do see Justin and Harold are on here as well. Good morning, you guys. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
I'm going to dedicate some extra time to you both a little bit later, but if you just want to say hello real quick before we jump in, a quick intro.
Awesome. I'll start real quick. Yeah, no, great to see everyone, see people logging in. It's awesome. Very excited to start this program off. So I'm Justin Siegel. I'm a professor here at UC Davis in chemistry, biochemistry, molecular medicine, and the Graduate School of Management as a professor of entrepreneurship. I'll talk more about what we're doing and things like that later. I think that's about right, Dana.
Sounds good. Harold, you want to say hi?
Yes, so it's Harold. I'm here, and I will see you soon. I'm getting my coffee, and
no worries.
More full introduction, but I'm affiliated with the Graduate School of Management, a senior scholar at UC Davis, and I also am co-founder and general partner in an early stage tech VC that'll be highly relevant to this program, and also an advisor to the Bioinnovation Institute in Copenhagen, as well as DTU BioSustain. So looking forward to meeting everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks to both of you. I threw you under the bus right at the beginning, so look alive. Okay. Yeah, it's 7 a.m. here, so thanks, everybody. Okay, so let's jump right in and kind of go through. We can start a little bit high level and say this program started out of a dialogue between some folks here at UC Davis and some folks in Denmark to build a bridge of talent, a bridge of connections in science and in innovation and technology innovation toward startups that include and improve human health and planetary health. So help accelerate the green transition, help make food healthier for us, help create devices that help make food, better for us, food processing, all of that. And so we both, ecosystems, California and Silicon Valley and the Central Valley here, as well as Denmark, are really excel at biotechnology. And we find that there's a lot of potential to grow in this area by creating an exchange program. So we're right now in today's fellowship or program, we're going to talk about Danish students coming to UC Davis. But the other part of, and I want to apologize, I keep saying students, you're all postdocs. We have run a program similar to this before with PhD students. So I'm going to keep saying postdocs, but if I do say students, please accept my apologies. I know you're not students. Where we send postdocs to, so you would come here to UC Davis, we would be sending 3 postdocs to Denmark. So the ultimate vision is to create a thriving, collaborative, 2 ecosystems working together to launch technologies, create research partnerships, create companies, and just build relationships in the 2 spaces. So this is going to be a primary way that we can mobilize that. You might be wondering, why UC Davis? Why is the University of California at Davis a good partner to work on innovation and creation for technology translation in food and health? The UC creates more patents than any research institution in the world. That's the University of California broadly. UC Davis specifically is the leader of that ecosystem in food, in ag, and in food science, and a lot of those related areas. We have a great health system. We're very close to Silicon Valley, about an hour away from the Bay Area, so we can leverage the ecosystem and the amazing kind of things that happen there, with the fact that even though we're an hour away, we're in what's called the Central Valley of California, which is the heart of agriculture, where food production is grown. There's a lot of ag land, a lot of ability to work with ag and food production, as well as the capital is 20 minutes away, Sacramento, where a lot of policy work happens. And so we're right in the heart of a lot of relevant areas. We're the top university for agriculture in the United States, same for veterinary medicine, very high in food science as well. And we have a great history of working with international partners. So this agreement is a kind of a broad one between multiple parties. So our institute, the Innovation Institute for Food and Health, we are the entity that you would mostly be engaging with while you are here at UC Davis. However, we have partnerships with a variety of labs and a variety of different pieces on campus, including Justin Siegel's lab, who you'll hear shortly, our School of Business, that you can engage with some of the offerings that they have. So IIFH, the Innovation Institute for Food and Health, is kind of your main partner at this end. And then this is, I should have said this earlier, this is funded by the Novo Nordisk Foundation, who is connected as well to the Bioinnovation Institute, which is a great opportunity where some of the Davis students going to Denmark will be placed to learn about commercialization. But the main other big collaboration is the START network. So all of the higher education universities in Denmark, including most of the ones where most of you are attending, the START network is the Center for Sustainable Agri-Food Systems. It's a research network across Denmark with faculty doing compelling research in areas related to agri-food systems, as you can see. And our key partner in implementing this on the ground is Danish Technical University and their National Food Institute. So they're our primary partners in kind of doing these logistics, these recruitments, the placements. DTU postdocs are welcome to apply, but I just want to stress that this is not a DTU specific program. Postdocs from any of these universities are welcome to apply. Tim, do you want to say anything else about that, or does that make sense?
That's pretty good. In all universities in Denmark, postdocs that are employed at all universities in Denmark working in a food or related area are welcome to apply for this fellowship.
Yeah. So that's the goal of the program, is to identify some top postdoc scholars, as you can see written here, that are doing use-inspired research, ideally research that has an application outside of just kind of basic discovery. Like, what can we do with the research we're finding to make an impact outside of the lab in fields related to food, nutrition, metabolic health, planetary health broadly defined. And we leave that broad on purpose because we have a similar program we've run in the past that I alluded to, where we have accepted students that focus on AI. That's excellent. Even climate science as it relates to some of this, data science, like engineering, all fields can be relevant if it helps to solve a pressing problem related to food and planetary health. And we really are looking for fellows and postdocs that are really interested in this translation element. So not just doing research, but how does research turn into something outside of the lab, into a startup, into a company, into an initiative that makes an impact in the world beyond just, I published a journal article and I'm done. How can this really change the world? So the way this program will be structured is, once you're selected, we have the recruitment open now. We will identify 3 postdocs from universities across Denmark. There may be 2 from the same university, but our goal is to spread it out. And they will come to Davis for 6 months. This cycle, this upcoming year, that will be February through July. Generally, we would shift that slightly, but based on the timing of when this was released and when we can recruit, we're looking at February through July of next year. During that time, the core of the program will be 50% time in a lab, and I have Justin here who will talk about that, Dr. Siegel, and 50% time working and learning about commercialization of different technologies out of universities. And so what that looks like in practice is a lot of mentorship from Harold, who will also introduce himself again soon, as he runs a venture capital firm. So IIFH, our institute, has a lot of venture capital partners, and you can engage and learn from those mentors about what do investors look for when they want to translate and get a technology out of the lab and into the market. How do they support promising startups? What kind of things do they have their eye on that make a technology competitive and likely to succeed? And then on top of that, you would be doing a variety of other things. We'll have speakers of different startups startups that have come out of the university and our ecosystem. We'll visit, we can go to Silicon Valley, we can go to Sacramento and visit companies that have come out of this type of space, as well as our business school has a lot of great additional workshops on entrepreneurship, and we have a food and ag immersion class, things like that that applicants can do or that selected fellows can do. So, like I said, February 2nd to July 31st. You might be wondering, how does compensation work? We'll go into more logistics after you hear from our hosts. But in short, the way this is structured is the idea is you need to have an active postdoc appointment at your university, and that postdoc appointment will retain active while you come to UC Davis, or remain active, I'm sorry. So keep your appointment in place. We work on the back end to send funds to your university, where that appointment, you will be paid according to your existing stipend, your existing salary, your existing compensation, and that will just remain the case for the 6 months while you're in California. To be clear, you will not be working on your postdoc work specifically while you're here. There are lots of elements that will hopefully align. That's kind of the goal, but that might not be the case. And so you should be expected to set aside some of your key research while you're here in California, but you will work with your lab to make sure your appointment remains active, and that's how you'll be compensated. You additionally will get support for flights, for housing, for health insurance, which is important while you're in the United States, for travel, things like that. There will be additional support. You'll get support from our office and our Global Affairs office for coordination and helping with a lot of that. And as a reminder, the deadline to apply for this program is May 18th, so 3 weeks from now. So now I'm going to turn it over to each of our hosts. I will start with Justin. He will be your host while you're here for translational research, understanding what it means to ask the right questions and apply them to your own research back home if you did want to start some kind of any startup or initiative. So I'll turn it over to you, Justin. I'm going to stop sharing too.
Well, wonderful. Thanks, Dana, for the great overview. And you know, I'm sure if anyone, or the slides will be available for everybody, you know, later if they have questions or anything like that.
I will email this recording to everyone that attended, or Evelina will. Sorry, Evelina, I should have also mentioned. Evelina is here being our rockstar logistics coordinator today. Evelina, you can email this to everybody after, right?
Yes, we will send the link and we will send the presentation to each of you. Yes.
Awesome.
And we
Yeah,
should also be able to post it online as well after.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, it's really great to meet everybody, and really looking forward to building this program together. This is, as Dana mentioned, this is our, this is the kickoff year. So, things look exciting on paper. We're going to find out how they are in reality. Maybe they're better than we think. So sometimes that happens. So let's hope. I'm hoping for the best. And I think whatever it is, we're going to learn a lot together, and it's going to be really exciting. One thing that's really become clear to me are the incredible synergies between the activities happening in Denmark and the activities happening in Copenhagen. It's really quite amazing how much alignment there is between the two regions of the world in terms of thinking through human and planetary health, biotechnology, food systems, and just having these focus areas that are unique, in our regions of the world, but both run deep in the culture and history of our specific organizations and groups. So it's pretty cool to see, and it's been fun for me to learn about and explore and kind of realize I've known it's there, but it really has become clear for me over the last couple of years. So as Dan mentioned, several of the scientists will be coming over to UC Davis to work with Harold and myself this year. To be clear and upfront, the goal is to work with Harold and myself this year. And in future years, we'll be having students work with potentially more than just me and Harold, but we wanted to keep this, high touch initially with Harold and myself, such that given we've had so much engagement with DTU and Novo and this program, want to make sure you have the best possible experience before we hand you over to someone not as familiar with these systems and program. So you guys are probably going to get the best year, if I don't say so myself. And we'll see. The future will be a crapshoot. And so, yeah, so real quick, I'll let Harold introduce what he'll do. But what we've been doing, as Dana mentioned with this program, is we've had students we've been running pilot of this program with internal students here at UC Davis for the last several years, and it's worked phenomenally well. And what the students do is they spend half their time doing a research program and half their time working with a venture capital group, and they learn about the types of questions that go beyond the publication. So you can have this massive impact, as we all know, in academia by doing research in the world and communicating that knowledge to the world and trying to make advancing human knowledge at a high level. And then someone has to take that knowledge and do something with it, right? To have that last leg of impact. And there's many mechanisms of that. And one mechanism of that is through startups and building out new technologies through a startup ecosystem. And that's often done these days through venture capital. And so this program has you working half the time with labs that are highly technology oriented and translationally oriented, kind of in the use inspired research. I'm sure we'll have lectures on what that is later. And also, half their time working with venture capital group, as Dana said, to really understand what are the questions that venture capital group's going to ask and how to orient themselves such that they can think about how to move technologies forward. So in my lab, I'll be focused, on the technology development. But to be very clear, I've been in the field, biotechnology field now, dating back to the early 90s. So pushing 30 years, which is really kind of weird at this point. So we'll keep it to 25. Dating back to the beginning of the genomics revolution, and have launched about a dozen different companies from my lab. We launch about one company a year from the lab. I've been involved in on the order of 100 different companies at this point, ranging from investor to advisor to founder. So I've seen how these companies work and have actually built many of my own. Some have been incredible successes that have impacted pretty much, I bet, everyone on this phone call. And some have been incredible failures, some of which might be revived very soon given recent changes in policy. But so we'll see about that. Harold and I were talking about that yesterday. And so you always have to be agile in the startup world. Nothing's ever truly dead. It's just about the right timing and the right team. And then, of course, the story is still being written. And so we'll be able to, when you're in my lab, you'll be immersed within the lab's ranges from 20 to 50 people, just depending on the day and the time and stuff like that. And there's staff and postdocs and graduate students and undergraduates and visiting scholars and all that stuff. And so at one time, there's a good 5 to 10 people in the lab actively working on their startup. And so you'll be immersed with those students and working with them. But really on a technical side, where my lab focuses within the world of biotechnology is computational protein design, and thinking about how do we design very specifically enzymes that catalyze new functions that improve our food system, and make the food we love healthier, more sustainable, and lets us enjoy it and more cost effective. And so those foundational tools you'll be learning about in the lab are for computational protein design. We'll have to evaluate where you're starting from. From some of you, everything might be exceptionally new. And so we'll start you at an earlier stage, given there's only a few months, and this is not like a multi-year program that you'll be involved. So you'll get a taste of that. And so we have programs where within a few weeks, you can use advanced computational tools to design novel proteins. You'll synthesize and create synthetic constructs of those proteins. You'll test those proteins in the lab to see how they work and how those computational, your predictions and those computational tools work. And we'll go back to the computer and hopefully get through, depending on where you are, probably 2 to 3 cycles of design through. For some of you, if you're coming in and all of that's routine and you're kind of very used to that and like, hey, I came from a lab or have a background that have done similar things, we can move to more advanced computational tools such as de novo protein design, and starting to think through how do we design de novo proteins and use these de novo tools to design novel functionalities beyond the more introductory computational tools. These tools won the Nobel Prize last year in chemistry, and so these are highly relevant, really cutting edge tools that you'll be able to be learning and participating in. And using these tools, we design novel enzymes that are usually foundational assets of the lab that help create new companies or drive those products forward. Yeah, I think that's probably where I'll cover at this point. Gives you a good sense of what you'll be working on.
Awesome. Thank you,
Anything I
Justin.
missed, Dana, you want me to touch on?
I don't think so. I just wanted to reiterate to everyone that you don't have to be an expert in enzyme engineering, right? You don't have to have any background on this to be placed in Justin's lab and learn a lot of really relevant key ways of thinking toward translation, right, Justin? I just wanted to hit that on the head again.
We have grade school students, not even high school. We have both Harold's kids when they were in high school have gone through this program. Pretty much all my colleagues have, we have high school students coming through on a regular, and we just tune the level of the computation and the wet lab, technical expertise needed to what the level you are coming in as far as your familiarity with this field and these tools. And so it's like, this is all brand new, and this is just the last time you heard about this was when you were in grade school and you haven't thought about biophysics or organic chemistry or these things in a long time. It's not a big deal at all. And we often start from, the introductory level, which is still using advanced, cutting edge computational design tools that I have several companies that have started from that level, from these high school students. So just to be really clear, when I say remediary, it doesn't mean not meaningful. It just means they're quick. You learn quick. The bar to learn them is a little bit quicker. They are more limited in what they can do, but they're still transformative. They can still create transformative products that impact the world, and they have. So, nothing to do about the impact of those tools. Really all about just making sure you can hit the ground running and you get the most out of the experience.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, the real key, you might be thinking, well, my focus isn't enzyme engineering, but the key of this whole program is to teach you how to think and how to ask the right questions toward translation. And so going through that process, Justin, right, is kind of the real takeaway from that time with you, is how to think about the work in the lab. And that can translate to other labs as well, right, where they are right now.
Totally, yeah. It's thinking through, how do you design, a biological system or a question? How do you build that system? How do you test it? And how do you learn from it? It's that classic design, build, test, learn cycle that you'll be going through. And that framing applies to everything. Think about, how do you frame a question to think about, can you have actual translational impact more than just bringing human knowledge in the world? We will always be bringing human knowledge in the world. That's what we do at the universities, right? But not only can we bring human knowledge into the world, can we develop new ways to improve the world around us, like tools and capabilities, and not just the knowledge. So it's the both in this particular case. And yeah, I would say very commonly people, and Harold's probably one of these converts. People are like, oh, enzymes are this kind of side thing that don't matter. And I would say you would be hard pressed to find anything in this world that couldn't benefit an enzyme. I don't care if it's carbon fixation or materials or paint or sustainability or life cycle assessments or, anything in the food system, given food is biology, and biology is created by enzymes and manipulated by enzymes, you would be hard pressed to find anything in the world of food that you couldn't make better by understanding how to use an enzyme.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll stop grilling you now. That was super helpful.
No, it's
Thanks.
good.
All right, I'm going to turn it over now to Harold. He's our commercialization research host. He's, like we said, a senior scholar at the Graduate School of Management, as well as has his own venture capital group, the March Group. So turning it over to you, Harold.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. Also, the sun behind you, you look like a figure from a church window or something.
I know. I'm stained glass.
Yeah.
And so we have a little window and the sun is rising. So I'm sort of calibrating, putting my head in front of the sun rays. So it'll go above the window in a minute. But anyway, Justin's sort of discussion there describes things perfectly, and it actually sort of getting philosophical quickly for a moment. I am a convert in the enzymes world and and the biotech world in general. So my background is actually more analytical chemistry, natural products chemistry, and understanding what plants and animals and fungi had already made through their sort of, biological machinery. And then, understanding that and then figuring out how it mattered in terms of human and planetary health. And that was that's how I operated. That's how I built my career. And actually, it was meeting Justin that started getting me to comprehend that, well, actually, the biological systems and enzymes that make those natural products are really, really important. And this is part of why the UC Davis Novo Nordisk Foundation DTU relationship in general is so profound globally, and why we're so excited about this program. And I think those of you who end up participating will become really excited. Is from a food systems perspective, it is the sort of biotechnology that Denmark and people like Justin are doing, that represent the exponential technologies that can create the kind of breakthroughs and value opportunities in the commercial spaces that can then transform the food system to actually radically be better from a human and planetary health perspective. So, like, the heart of the matter of why this partnership is so profound and is world leading immediately, and will only become even more so, is because of this interaction at that level that Justin was just describing. In terms of how I will participate here, so most of my career has been from the industry side of the table, but it's always been at the industry academic interface. And so Justin has had a similar experience, and I think DTU and BII and other aspects of the Danish ecosystem represent all this industry academic interface really well also. And so philosophically at that level, that's why this is so special. So what I will bring to the table is from the use-inspired research model, what aspects of use-inspired research can be viable in the commercial landscape for a startup, also at a corporate level. So, part of what fellows will get out of this program is, certainly it's geared towards, hey, how do we really figure out what are the breakthroughs that are going to really matter in terms of creating the potential for a successful new startup that can be venture capital funded. And by the way, there's a lot behind every one of those words. So it's really easy to say, and actually it's really easy to create a startup. The successful part that is based on venture capital funding is really, really, really hard. That's why even in the best of circumstances, the success rate is low. And in the food sector, there are peculiar aspects to it that make it, on the one hand, easier if you know what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing and have the right perspective, it's actually a lot harder, on balance, than it is in other biotech spaces. So, and it's at this use-inspired research level in terms of, is the intellectual property that's being developed the breakthrough? Is it really a breakthrough? And what can it look like in the marketplace? What's the sort of space it's occupying or that it's creating? such that it can actually lead to a successful startup. And so this use-inspired research concept will come up over and over again during this program, and it's really central to things. And what use-inspired research really represents is taking the very best of fundamental research and applied research simultaneously, and combining that with entrepreneurship in terms of product market fit, as the lingo would go. And that's a different model than what what I grew up with as a originally as a PhD candidate, for example. And honestly, when I entered industry, which was a linear model of it, it was fundamental research to applied research to figuring out if there might be a product market fit. What we have to do, looking forward to really change the food system for the better, is convert that linear approach into a big messy ball that happens all at the same time. And that's where the magic happens. And that's what BII literally was built for, which many or all of you are familiar with. As a crystallized sort of essence of that. And that's what IIFH is built for within the UC Davis ecosystem. And that's what this program is about. And so we have been fortunate, myself speaking now for the March group, the VC group that I work with. We've been really fortunate to interact with the fellows from this program during the past few years, and have a really good idea. I don't know, Dana, is it like 4 years now or 5 years? I forget what the time is. Feels like 5 years, I think. And I have a really good idea of what success looks like, and happy to say there are these really excellent success examples. And so success it basically looks like fellows who come into the program actually do, and they do sort of these things and are able to articulate them at the end of the program, and in certain cases are taking actions with them. And so those things are understanding the use-inspired research construct, which Justin and I both alluded to, and the fact that there's a lot going on in parallel versus in linear fashion. Number two is actually understanding the commercial landscape for the space that that you're interested in as a fellow. And so it's within that sort of mega space of the food sector, but there will be very specific areas that fellows will have particular interests in, and there's a lot of room to run in every single one of those specific areas. But the only way to run in a useful direction is actually to understand that landscape. And so interacting with a venture capital company is a great way to actually do that and learn how to do it, because that's kind of, to use a colloquialism, that's the bread and the butter of a VC group, is actually understanding the landscape that a startup might enter into, that you might invest into. And so it might be a great technology, it might be a breakthrough, and it might have no chance whatsoever of being a successful company, no matter how wonderful that is. And those are kind of the landscape decisions that VCs make. And if entrepreneurs and scientists understand that decision-making process, there's some great synergy that happens. And then the third aspect of what success looks like from a fellowship perspective, from my perspective, is then as the program nears its completion, or after the program is completed, a fellow is actually interacting in the industry space. And that could be that they've created their own startup, which we've seen. It could be that they now are employee number 1 or 2 or 3 of a startup, and we've seen that. Or it could be that the fellow is interacting with a large corporate in the space, but bringing these concepts of, of use-inspired research and figuring out how to go faster in a massively parallel way versus a linear way. So it could be any of that stuff, but it's actually activity that's happening in the industry space that the fellow is now able to bring while still potentially having, both feet or one foot in the academic sector, but, really sort of crossing that industry academic interface. So I'll stop there and happy to, for Dana or Tim to interrogate me or anyone else. And but really, really looking forward to this program kicking off.
Awesome. Thank you, Harold. I think that makes sense. I think you did a good job. I won't interrogate you. But we do have a Q&A at the end, and so other folks might interrogate you, if that's okay. So for the sake of time, I'm going to hop back to our slides to go through a few of the logistical slides. Let's see. Can you see that screen okay? Yeah.
Yes, we see it.
Great. I did receive some private feedback that I am talking too quickly, so I will try and slow it down. That is a lifetime issue of mine. So as you may have heard, you will be learning about how to think through designing a novel enzyme as a an example of how to think about your research towards creating a startup. And you'll be working with Harold, with the March group, with the business side of things to think about what is the landscape of my research and how do I create a map of what's out there, or talk to customers, or learn from other investors. What kind of activities am I doing to learn about how my technology will make an impact in the world? Those are the two key pieces of the program. But on top of that, we will build in a lot of additional exciting things. And so you will hear, like I said before, these logos over on the left are examples of either companies that have come out of the UC Davis Innovation Institute for Food and Health Ecosystem, or they are companies that are in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, or in Sacramento that are in the same area that we can go and tour and talk to those companies and talk to their expert scientists and their expert CEOs and things like that. So you can learn all the different stories of success and all the different directions it's gone. And then you will also be able to, we'll take some fun trips as well. So we'll go to Silicon Valley and Sacramento, but the University of California also has an office that sets up trips to Yosemite National Park or Lake Tahoe. If you want to get away on a weekend and explore, California is a pretty beautiful place and there's a lot of beautiful things to see. So it doesn't all have to be work, work, work. So we'll work some of that fun stuff in as well. There's a couple really exciting conferences that happen during this time. The Future Food Tech Conference is a massive one. There's one called Syn Biobeta Synthetic Biology Conference in San Jose. You could go to that if it's relevant to your research. So we would work with you to identify a couple relevant conferences in the area because it's such a hotbed of really key conferences and discussions and meetings that you can attend as well. So I just want to dive a little deeper into some of the logistics, like I said. So as a reminder, we would work with your university to keep your postdoc appointment active. And so whatever you're being paid right now is what you would continue to be paid while you are here in California for 6 months. We would additionally have a stipend, like I said, for funding, for travel, for a flight, for housing, for health insurance, and then also for some conferences and ability to travel within California. You also would be able to be part of IIFH's events. We have a key partnership summit that happens every year and a half. That would be a big event. We'd love for you potentially to present your research that you're doing here in Denmark or what you are working on while in California, either one at that event. We also will have a program colloquium. So at the end of the event, we want to get you together with the 3 Davis students that will be going to Denmark, their time is a little bit shifted. So they will come to Denmark in January, and you will get to know them in person on the ground in Denmark in January before you leave in February. Then at the end of the program, they will come back to Davis in July. So during the months of June and July, you will be able to reconnect with them in California, and they can share with you their labs and systems back at Davis. So there's some friendship and connection building that you will have with those fellows that will be heading to Denmark. And we will do an event at the end there, a colloquium with all of you, and probably with the faculty that you've been working with, and where do you want to go from here, things like that. There will be, let's see what else. Oh yeah, connections. So that's most of what you'll be doing. To reiterate on eligibility, you do need to be a postdoctoral scholar with an active appointment at a Danish higher education research university. Ideally, you are working in a technical field related to food production or nutrition or planetary health. You do need to have support of your principal investigator or whatever faculty you are working under to do this program, because you're leaving for 6 months. And so we need that faculty to say, it's okay that you leave for 6 months, because they might have a project they need you on and can't afford to lose you in next year. And so it would be great. Part of the application that I'll talk about in a minute will include a letter of support from them saying, at a minimum, I give permission for this postdoc to do this program, but ideally at a maximum, it's a proper letter of recommendation. And they would say, not only do I give my permission, but this is why you would be an excellent candidate. If you have a background in innovation or business, maybe you have started a startup already, or you have worked at one, or you've kind of worked with other companies, that can be advantageous in your application, because I think it can show that you already kind of have some foundational knowledge there, but it's not required. If you say, I've only done lab research my whole life, I know nothing about commercialization, but I want to learn, that's just fine. That's excellent. And we're more than happy to have you apply. And same with the nature of your research. So like I said, you'll kind of be stepping away from your key research while you're in California, but the goal is for it to be very synergized. So what you're learning while you're in California will be able to be applied to what you are doing during your postdoc in Denmark. And so if you are working on research that already has a clear path to potentially becoming a new technology, that could also make you more advantageous as an applicant, because the goal is to help you take that and turn it into a company, ideally, one of the goals. So if you can, part of your statement will have you explain that, and that can also help set you apart. If you say, I don't know how my research can turn into anything other than my lab research, that's okay. You should still apply. You can talk about that in your application paper, and we can talk through that together, and you're still certainly eligible to apply. I will say, while I'm on this eligibility slide, because I don't have it written down anywhere, that I want to address the elephant in the room, which is the US political situation right now. As of right now, this program is open to international applicants. You don't have to be Danish to apply. You can hold citizenship from a variety of countries. However, if you are hold a passport from Russia, from Iran, or from Syria, it's very unlikely we will be able to select you. And if you hold one from China, that may be very difficult to accept you as well. The timeline to a visa for us would be very long for that. If you are China, I would say you can email me. It's possible you could still apply, but it's a very shifting landscape right now. We've had a long, the government has considered a travel ban list of an extension list of countries. As of right now, the talk around that seems to have quieted down. So we are hopeful that that won't come into play, but that is definitely something that is really out of our control right now. So at this time, if you, you want to apply, I want to encourage you to apply. But like everything like Justin alluded to, with innovation and entrepreneurship, flexibility is the name of the game. And so we will need to be flexible as the landscape evolves. You will need to be flexible if you're selected and we find our way to find the best program for you. Yeah, so I'm sorry that might sound a little bit vague, but it's simply because it's a fluctuating situation. I also want to add, again, this is political, but I want to have it said, there has now been a precedent of the US government denying visas to those who have had really proactive social media presence around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So if you have been very proactive on social media with a pro-Palestine presence, that has recently the US government has denied visas on those grounds. So if you are serious about this program, I want to put that out there to be aware of what you're using your social media for. I recognize that's a little bit unnerving, but it needs to be said for where we are. So moving on. In order to apply to the program, what we look for from you is a resume or a kind of an industry style resume or an academic cover CV. So it can be your full CV if that makes sense. And then the big thing is a letter of interest. We want about a 2-page or no longer than 2 pages probably telling us about what are you working on right now? And then also, what's your background? What motivated you to get into research? What activities have you done in the past that might be relevant related to entrepreneurship or innovation? Have you done any business activities? And then why is this program interesting to you? And how will this program help you in your next steps in your career goals? So it's kind of high level and broad. You don't have to answer them bam, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. But really, we want to glean from you, are you innovative? Are you excited about trying something new? Are you interested in engaging with this ecosystem of leaders in California and leaders in Denmark? And ideally, do you want to take your research and turn it into a startup? Or do you not know and you're willing and excited to try and find out? We do need a letter of recommendation, like I said before, from your faculty that you work under. And if you have a lot of work experience outside of academia, so maybe you were working for a company or you did launch a startup, we will accept a second letter of recommendation if it speaks to a skill set that is not your key research. So if there's something else you've done that's relevant and interesting, we would allow a second letter of recommendation as well. And all of those need to be saved as a single PDF and uploaded in the system by the end of the day on Sunday, May 18th. So that is the end of kind of the logistics, the overview, and we have about 5 to 10 minutes left. If anybody has any questions at all about what exactly am I going to be doing, how do I get here, any of that. And if you don't have a question right now, I will